Hey future attorneys, my name is Jamil and welcome to Jamil's Journey to JD. Today I'll be talking to you about my law school experience. So for those of you who don't know, I have been in law school for about 4 weeks now. The first week was filled with orientation and I have been in the full swing of classes for the last 3 weeks. So if you're ready to hear about my experiences, make sure you stay tuned and we'll hop right into the video. So I really appreciated that our orientation was for a week long. I think our professor did an amazing job breaking down the American judicial system, the Constitution, and how it relates to our laws today. I think it was really important, especially because there are students from different legal backgrounds. There are some students who have both parents as attorneys, and there are some people who don't have any attorneys in their families. And so I think it was really good to help close the gap for people who don't have that legal understanding so that they're on equal footing by the time classes rolled around. So the 5 classes that I'm taking are torts, civil procedure, criminal law, academic success, and lawyering skills. Each professor has their own teaching style. So I have my torts professor who has us labeling things according to what category they fall under, whether it's an intentional tort, an unintentional tort, a strict liability, and vicarious liability. Then we have my civil procedure professor. And civil procedure, for those of you who don't know, so we talk about the procedure that goes behind the technicalities of a court. So that class has been pretty interesting. Then I would say with my criminal professor and my experience with that class, it seems like it's more student ran conversations with the professor. Still helps to guide the conversation, but each professor has their own teaching style. The biggest thing that I've noticed with my doctrinal classes, which is towards criminal law and civil procedure, is the style in which the professors use to call on us in class. So I know a lot of you, or some of you, have probably heard about code calling. And a code call is essentially when a professor just calls on you randomly, and you're expected to recite the issues to the class, the facts, or whatever questions they ask you. You're expected to be on point and answer whatever questions are being asked. One thing that I've noticed with my professors for my doctrinal classes, the biggest thing that I would say that I think is kind of helpful is they do panels instead of cold calls. So you will know when it's your turn to be called on so that you can, prepare, make sure you're on top of your game with the material, make sure that you know those cases in and out, you know what the rulings are, because those other questions are going to be asked of you. And oftentimes those times when you're on call for your panel contributes to your participation grade, so you want to make sure you're on point with that, because sometimes your participation could be 10% of your grade, and that is significant when you're talking about the final and the midterms being the other things considered in your final grade. So I will say being called on isn't necessarily as scary as it may seem. So as long as you really know, as long as you've read the material, you're somewhat prepared on how to answer the questions. I mean, oftentimes the professor will ask you a question and you may not know the answer, and that's fine. It's nothing for you to necessarily be embarrassed about. I remember I had answered a question incorrectly during orientation, and the biggest thing that the professor said was don't hit replay. Don't keep thinking about it over and over again and thinking about how wrong you were. Oftentimes, a lot of the students are thinking the same thing. And keep in mind that we're all there to learn, so no one is going to ridicule you. But, if you have shown the professor that you have done the reading and maybe, they didn't word the question correctly, or you maybe didn't pick up on something, you're not going to get deducted points because you didn't answer it correctly. They're just expecting you to help with classroom participation. So that's the biggest thing that I would say. As for being social in law school, there are a lot of opportunities for students to engage. I think it's really cool that everyone is trying to find their group of friends. Everyone has been so friendly. Study groups are starting to form. People are starting to gain their connections and their resources. And it's been really beautiful to see. Not to mention the faculty and staff were amazing. The student support is phenomenal. I think that's something to really consider when you're going to law school and picking a law school, is making sure that the culture suits you. I realized I didn't do a law school application breakdown, and maybe that's something that I will do in a later video. So if that's something that you want to see, make sure you let me know that below, or I may just include that in a Q&A, like what to look for in a law school. But I will definitely keep you posted on how my law school experience goes, and I'm also thinking about doing a vlog while I'm there, so that might be one of the next videos that you see, like a day in the life of a law student. I do know on my Instagram I did post a story every day that I was in orientation about highlights and overviews that the professor went over. So if that's something that you want to see, make sure you head over to my Instagram. Also, be sure to hit the subscribe button and like this video if you thought that it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!